following announcement has been paid for by the
Mark Order.
Welcome to the Elite Mark Order podcast, where we talk about all things AEW related, including All In, the largest wrestling show ever, for now. I've got a PhD in THC. I'm the Doctor of Pot, CosmicScott, and I'm joined tonight by my co-host and partner, who's a delight in flight, JayV. How are you tonight, JayV?
Doing well. 2 days until the big day, we weren't sure we'd ever see. All In.
All In number 2, the big card, biggest matches, or biggest show, biggest wrestling show, biggest live wrestling show paid for ever in history. Pretty amazing.
We go from the Young Bucks and Cody and Kenny's vision of All In being the largest independent wrestling show ever with 10,000 plus people to Tony Khan joining in and bringing these guys and these ideas and this promotion and the alternative to 80,000 plus paid tickets, the most ever for a single night of wrestling in the history of wrestling, which is incredibly impressive.
It is. There's no question that this is quite a success. And let's face it, England is starved for some good wrestling. They're starved for live shows in general. So AEW coming across the pond, showing up in force and really putting on a show that's not, I don't know. I mean, I know WWE came along and they did their thing and they're like, oh, 90,000 tickets. Well, yeah, that's over 2 nights. That's 45,000 a night. So let's get real here, guys. But it's really impressive. I'm glad to see it. It's a very historic night. It's a big week leading up into this historic evening. Now, unfortunately, we do want to touch on, there is quite a bit recent. Terry Funk passed, and the very next day, we got news that Wyndham Rotunda, Bray Wyatt, had passed. And of course, here at the Elite Mark Order, we give nothing but our condolences and our prayers and our thoughts for the family and for the friends and for the entire community. There's been a huge outpouring for Bray and for Terry. I know I'm a big fan of both of them. Jay, you're a big fan. Maybe we can do a podcast about these guys a little bit later after the big pay-per-view. What do you think?
Yeah, I'd definitely be up for doing a show just to talk about them, their careers. Terry Funk is one of the most influential names in the history of wrestling.
Yeah,
his career spanned decades and continents and styles of wrestling, and helped popularize death matches, and just his accomplishments are and the length of time he spent being an influential performer, not only in the wrestling ring, but on screen. Like, he was one of the first wrestlers to get some roles in bigger roles in some of the movies that helped also spread the popularity of the sport. So yeah, I could spend all day talking about Terry Funk, and there's so much that could be said about Bray Wyatt and his creativity and his accomplishments while he was on top of his game as well.
There's no question. And had Bray had his opportunity to extend his career out as long as Terry Funk did, I think we could have easily called him legendary in the same breath. He was on his way. He was creating quite the legacy for himself. 36 is far too young. It's a surprise to everybody. COVID is real. COVID is dangerous. Don't fuck around with it. It's coming back around. Get your fucking boosters. Let's not kid ourselves. This is a real fucking disease, and it activated a heart problem that he already had, made it worse, and he got one critical heart attack and it killed him at 36. This is not something to fuck around with. So our hearts go out to everybody. Terry is a legend. I could talk about him. Bray Wyatt, God, I thought he was great. Early on, Husky Harris got. Anyways, let's not break off into talking about these guys. Let's save that for our podcast. Let's reminisce later. Let's talk a little bit about All In. Let's talk about what's coming up here this weekend. This is pretty darn big. And hey, let's talk a little bit about Dynamite. Jay, did you want to talk about Dynamite a little, shall we?
Yeah, let's. I think what we're going to do tonight is we'll talk briefly about the Dynamite show that preceded the pay-per-view, and then we're just going to go through the pay-per-view match by match and talk about our predictions for the match and what our thoughts have been on the build and what might come after it and what might end up carrying over to All Out. So, there's a ton to talk about tonight.
Absolutely.
Why don't we just recap Dynamite real quick? There were only 4 matches. You had the Mox Phoenix match which brought back Proud and Powerful. You had Darby and Nick with the
questionable return, turn again, Paul White turn. I mean, this was almost the length of a cup of coffee. I cannot believe how quickly AR Fox turned. And we know it's because of travel issues, and that sucks.
Right. So that he had to switch teams or whatever. I mean, I don't think that was necessary at all.
They could have booked it different.
AR Fox could have gotten hurt. There's a million things they could have done, but so that was kind of crazy. And then we had a really out of place Ruby Soho versus Sky Blue match, which was inconsequential.
It was a showcase match on a go home show. And I don't really understand why it was booked that way, other than Ruby built up a tiny bit for Chris Statlander. I don't know.
It was 2 segments as well. The match only lasted 7 minutes, but it did span 2 segments. It seemed a lot longer.
It felt long. Felt long.
After that, we had Aussie Open versus Hardys to cap things off and to give us one more look at Aussie Open before their important match that's going to be kicking off All In against MJF and Adam Cole. And then, of course, there was a lot going on between MJF and Cole and interviews and so on. So it was a pretty busy show. It was rated pretty well by most of the critics, and it's definitely a show worth watching. But it wasn't a great show for wrestling.
Well, no, there was only 4 matches. It was extremely short, but you got to admit they had to put a lot of work into that Strickland, AR Fox, Christian Cage, Luchasaurus debacle. Like, they had the match, and then they had the fallout where they kicked AR Fox out, which made no sense whatsoever. I hated that choice. He was just starting to work, and then Then Nick and fucking Darby Allin forgave him immediately. And I'm like, the best explanation was you had a month's worth of potential storyline that you wasted in 20 seconds. And
right. And I mean, Fox could turn right after. He could turn again right afterwards. So, I mean, who knows what they're going to do with it. But yeah, Tony was just looking for a quick fix, and here we are.
So we know AR Fox had travel issues. We also know Ray Phoenix had travel issues. There was one other person that had travel issues that also caused a problem, and I don't remember exactly who it was. And it wasn't Dax and Cash because of that issue. There was one other person who couldn't get across the pond, and it was a Satnam Singh. It was supposed to be the Hardys and Paul White versus Jay Lethal and Satnam Singh in a 6-man match for All In. But there was a travel issue with I just read one of those rumors, and I'm like, oh my god, that would have been fucking fantastic.
I don't know if Jeff can travel though. I mean, he's
there was more than Jeff.
So
I think there was something going on with multiple members, so there was no chance that was going to happen. But there was apparently Captain Insano outfit created for that match because it would have been a joke match anyways, but would have been perfect.
I think it would have been fun.
And that's exactly their slot right now. They are fun. They don't need to be contenders for the belts. They don't even need to fucking win matches. The Hardys can be fun. Jeff Jarrett can be fun. I love that. Let's keep going with that.
Speaking of fun matches, I just got to throw this out there because I won't remember it at any other point in the show. But there was an ROH taping. The most recent ROH taping had Brandon Cutler going against Blake Christian, who's been getting some more opportunities in ROH. If you don't know who Blake Christian is, he's one of the best up and comers. He's his nickname is All Heart, and the fans chant All Heart. And if you remember, John Moxley was a GCW champion.
Mhm.
Blake Christian is currently the GCW champion. He's tearing it up. He's a great heel. The crowds hate him, and it's just awesome to see him work because he went from like a smaller baby face with good agility to now he's this vicious heel. And man, this guy can go. But his match was
he actually had a few matches on Dark and Elevation, so I got to see him a few times. He didn't get the chance to be super impressive, but you could see that he had a lot more than he was able to put on TV.
Yeah, but his match with Cutler was on ROH was hilarious. It's a good, probably a 6 or 7 minute match. It was so much fun. I'm glad
you put the link up. By the way, that was you put. I mean, honestly, I don't have ROH Honor Club, but I'm glad you put that up, so I was able to watch it. You know, I'm a Cutler fan.
Yeah,
I loved it. He's got the comedy down. He's starting to really build that up. And did you notice he's got his own stooge? It's been building on BTE, so BTE feeds into ROH now. He's got Colt Cabana with his stooge outfit, his own vest, and videotaping when Cutler was in the ring wrestling, which is what Cutler does, obviously, for the Bucks. So I'm a big Cutler fan. I appreciate you posting that. That was a fun match to watch.
And it's good to see Colt Cabana back as well. He's certainly not going to be on Collision, but
No.
if he's used on ROH, I will be watching more ROH than I have in the past, most likely. So, but yeah, it was just a fun match. So anyhow,
I will give credit. I will give credit where credit is due. ROH is looking like a really fun show most weeks. The stuff with Athena that you posted, there was there was the backstage segment we talked about last time where she showed more character work than all the other women, and that was an ROH clip, and I thought it was great. Well, you posted another clip where she and Billy Starks are doing their team, and of course they won because Athena's the champion, but they showed a lot of heart and character, and I'm like, why can't that be on Dynamite?
Right. It's better than anything going.
It really is. It really is.
Billy's looking good. I
appreciate you posting that. Yeah, I appreciate you posting that.
Mm-hmm. She's getting a good push with being able to work with Athena in ROH.
Yeah,
and she's going to do some character development, and she looks like a natural. I think.
Oh, she is.
I wasn't completely sure how she was going to, how the transition would be for her. Would it be awkward? Would there be a learning curve? But man, she's killing it. She looks great in ring, of course, because she has more experience than most of the women's division.
It's true.
Because she took it upon herself to go wrestle every night she possibly could. As opposed to the other people who sit in catering and bitch, and then they don't work any indie shows. So, props to Billy for getting the work in and, looking like a pro right out of the gates. So I hope to see her get called up soon to the Dynamite Collision shows.
It's funny because you can compare Billy to Nick Wayne because they're similar age, similar backgrounds. I mean, Nick has had his, what was the Noah? Well, no, not Noah. What was the
New Japan?
Nick Wayne was in New Japan?
Nick had his New Japan debut, I think last week in Philly.
I was talking about
ECW arena. Yeah.
I was talking about a US based promotion where he worked with Swerve and Darby and we talked about it a few weeks ago.
I think it's Defy.
That's
Defy.
That's it. So he has a bunch of Defy experience and he's getting full on television time. Billy Starks, she's on ROH. At least she's getting it. At least she's getting development. But why can't she be on TV instead of Saraya?
Right. Nick's going straight to Dynamite. He's like that high draft pick in baseball that skips the minor leagues and starts out in the majors.
True.
So it's I think Billy will be called up quickly.
Well,
so I think it's just a matter of time. But Nick was
courted.
Nick
was courted early. At 16, he got his first contract, if you recall.
Yeah, and you've had Darby, making sure that that good things happen for Nick. Like, yeah, he got his contract 2 years ago, whereas Billy did this on her own. Like, I don't think there's anyone holding Billy's hand and saying, "Hey, Tony, can you give this young lady a contract? She's really good."
Well, I know she's got a big fan base, especially in our own Discord.
Yeah. Yep.
There's quite a few of us who are fans, and at least one person who maybe doesn't know her on a personal level, but certainly knows her background and her family, location, all that kind of stuff. So, we've heard nothing but positive the entire time before she ever showed up on our televisions. And
All right.
I'm looking forward to just really seeing her career explode. I really am.
Absolutely. So, why don't we got a lot, we got 11 matches to talk about coming up at All In on Saturday. So why don't we jump into that? Let's talk about Aussie Open versus MJF and Adam Cole.
What a great match this is to get people in their seats early. The world champion who's bookending this entire pay-per-view with his best friend who's bookending the entire pay-per-view with him. There's going to be segments and follow-up throughout the night. There has to be. There's got to be storyline because that's why they're bookending. I personally, my fantasy book is Cole turns on MJF, but they win the titles. So they win the ROH tag titles. Then Cole turns on him during the match, wins the championship. So he's a double champion with Max, but he just beat Max, and he's world champion, and he gets his new group. I think they called it Kingdom Cole previously. And that's the Kingdom plus Adam Cole, Roderick Strong, Kingdom Cole. He's got to have a group behind him. He turns heel. Being heel is being teased. It was good guy Adam Cole got tempted by all the heel and nasty and reminded him who he truly is. And MJF, who was convinced he couldn't be friends with anyone, but Cole showed him he could be, stabbing him in the back. I think babyface MJF is going to be so fucking over. And heel Cole is going to get Callous level heat. I just don't really care about the Aussie Open, so I say they lose. How about you?
I guess it depends on what Tony's going to do here. I mean, the ramifications of the MJF Cole feud are going to, I think direct the next 3-4 months until the next pay-per-view after All Out.
Easy.
So it's like, is MJF going to go face or is MJF going to go heel? Either thing can happen. I mean, hell, could you imagine Wardlow coming out and costing, Adam Cole as a babyface? Can you imagine the heat MJF would get if something like that happened, if he took the interference and, screwed over Cole with interference and got back together with Wardlow? I mean, that would be nuclear heat for MJF. And that would also elevate Adam Cole as a huge babyface with his new faction that he can put together to counter Wardlow with, Roderick Storm. I mean, you have Kyle O'Reilly is probably ready to come back soon.
Maybe, yeah.
And then there's also the stuff with the Kingdom. So, the Kingdom could turn on Cole. Tony could do whatever he wants here, and I think there's a lot of good options. There's a lot of decisions.
Right. So what do you want? What do you want? What's your fantasy booking on this match?
It's tough, man. I don't know. I can't even say.
Take the stand, man. Have a spine.
Well, I think the pressure from the IWC is that MJF needs a face run, and let's see what he can do. And people are saying that MJF as a face could get over as much as The Rock was, which I don't know about that. It's a different time, but I don't know. Is now the time to push MJF? I mean, he's been teasing his contract status coming up in a couple months. It's not
talked
long.
About it again.
Yes,
he said it was January 1st, but
that is a heel thing to talk about.
It is. Well, no, he's still a schmuck. He's just our schmuck.
Yeah. So I don't know. I guess I'm fine either way with whatever he does. MJF's the best heel in the company, and he's probably could be the best face in the company. So
yeah.
So it depends. It's almost like which side needs more help is what he should be on that side. So,
what are you gonna choose?
If I had to put money on it, I mean I'm so 50-50 on this. I'd say MJF. is the face. Adam Cole does the turn there, and Wardlow doesn't get involved or anything. Wardlow's just shit listed right now. So
what about the ROH tag title? And Wardlow can't even go to All In. He doesn't have a fucking passport.
Oh, I don't believe that bullshit.
Anyways,
I don't believe that for 1 second.
What about the match? What about the match against Aussie Open?
So, I think this is going to set the stage for what happens later in the night. I mean, I think MJF and Cole are going to win the ROH titles.
Okay, fair enough.
But at the same time, I would not be surprised if they did not lose. If they lost, if one of them screwed the other one to help set up the main event, and Aussie Open got the win. Like I think that would be fine.
Or you think it might be like a DQ beatdown?
No.
Whichever one turned heel, their group just starts beating them down, and it becomes a big DQ clusterfuck beatdown. Because later in the night, then because it's got to be MJF being beaten down, MJF has to come out hurt because all these people beat him up at the beginning. It's got to be a setup from Adam Cole. That's the only thing that makes booking sense, really.
Yeah, it does. Unless one of the guys teams with MJF, like that would be a crazy swerve right now.
It would be a huge Russo-esque nonsense sort of choice. Absolutely could happen. I think a heel
Russo-esque, but
I think heel MJF would be an AR Fox level turn. How about that? An AR Fox level choice.
So I think it might present some difficulties. Just I don't know how much Tony wants to feature the ROH title on TV. That's why I think there's a chance that Aussie Open retains.
Sure, absolutely, and that's why I'm saying a DQ or some clusterfuck finish or something that forces it to where there's not going to be maybe a count out. You could just have MJF and Cole get a count-out victory. They don't win the titles, but they win the match.
Or whoever loses, say MJF gets pinned because Cole screws him over.
Sure.
And then MJF wins the main event. Then that loss doesn't hurt him at all.
Right, exactly. So there's something of that nature that I expect. That's why if it's MJF being beaten down because of a new group or whatever, or Adam Cole just gives him the short arm for the tag, you know how that is. He just walks away and then he gets beaten down by Aussie Open. Hard to know exactly how they book it, but most likely MJF gets beaten down, and then at the end of the night, if he wins, he's overcome just that much more and is an even bigger babyface. So
yeah. So either way, regardless of what happens,
it's going to be a great match.
I just love the build. I just love the idea. Because it's such a unique idea that certainly nobody saw coming. But to have, the main event of one of your biggest supercards, opening the show for a tag title is pretty crazy.
For free, by the way. That's a free match on the 0 hour.
And so you got to wonder about this one. Like, is that what if you had to put a percentage on who was booking it? Like, how much of this was Tony? How much of this was MJF? How much of this was
all the way? MJF all the way. I think MJF and Adam Cole have been working together, forging this story together.
Yeah.
I think they've been workshopping it, and then they pitch it to Tony, who's just like, fuck yes.
Yeah.
Because of all the interactions, just everything they've done, they are so creative together. That's where the magic has come from.
Yeah, and I think MJF has earned his right to have creative, storylines. He does such an incredible job. He's just brilliant. So
this is proving time and again, you don't give him booking power, but you absolutely get him involved in the story. You get him involved in telling it, in coming up with it, in creating it, because that's where the power is. As an old role player, I will tell you, the ability to just know your character that thoroughly to be able to tell these stories, that is old school. And you don't get a lot of that anymore. You really don't.
And the tie-in to the original All In is Cody talks about how the All In show and independent wrestling was about putting the art back into the hands of the artists instead of having one person decide the storylines, or writers who don't even watch wrestling coming in and creating storylines and scripts for people to use. It's putting the hands back of the artists, and it's like, seeing what MJF is doing here is exactly what that is.
Yep.
And it's
and,
like, so you see
and
that
the
link,
rest of the company. Honestly, the rest of the company is just a great example of that. I totally agree.
Yeah. So you see MJF's link back to Cody here from the original All In, and I think it's pretty cool. It's like
he opened the original All In.
He did.
So this is the callback, is him opening the show. There's no way he wins. He lost that first All In match. There's no way he wins, and then he wins the match late in the night as the biggest babyface AEW has. Because that's smart booking.
Right.
I don't necessarily want it to happen. I want to see Cole. I want to see different stuff happen. I want to see a little bit more of a swerve. But MJF getting beaten down in the first match to win and overcome and just be the hero, it writes itself. It really does.
Yeah, it does. I think it's the way to go. And
it's going to be phenomenal when we watch it.
Yeah, and just in case anybody was wondering, at his first All-In, at the first All-In, Max's opponent was Matt Cross.
Yeah,
and he hasn't been called up into any of the bigger promotions. He's never really made it off the indies, so it's just interesting.
Well, I think pretty much if you look at it, Tony booked it to see how impressed he was with Max. Because as Max tells it, Tony came up and offered him a contract immediately. Reality is, he was probably on the very, very short list of people to give a contract as early as day one. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He was like, I want this kid. Because Tony saw what we all see. He is phenomenal. They gave him the ball. He grew in the last 5 years and became World Championship material. That Max that started off in 2019 wasn't this good at all. But he became
right.
He became
yeah. He was pretty green back then.
But he was still. I mean, he was still great. You could see it. All right.
I think anyways, we'll circle back on our pick for the main event at the end of the show. So the second match on the 0 Hour is going to be Jack Perry versus Hook. Who do you got for this one, Scott?
So apparently that gets announced tonight or tomorrow, Rampage, Collision, whatever. We expected it. We saw it coming up, so it doesn't bother me. I love seeing this. Jack Perry has been a better heel than he ever was as a face. This run has been fantastic for him as a heel. I think he needs to retain. However, because he's talking about retiring the championship, and I'm sure that's all the storyline that we'll get tonight and tomorrow, I think Hook has to win to maintain the integrity of the FTW and the mystique that he's a near unbeatable child god. Because that's how he's booked.
What I think will happen here is I think Hook's going to win it. I think it'll be a good feel-good moment on the show, and it'll help save the title. But at the same time, I don't think this program should end. I think Perry and Hook are good together, and I think they should continue on. And like having Perry win the title back in a month or something on Dynamite would be fine. But
so he's got to get his heat back at the end of the match after Hook wins. Then
okay. or something like because I don't feel like what's Jungle Boy. I got to start calling him Jack Perry now. What's Jack Perry going to do after this? And it's like I like him in this program. It's working for him. I almost don't want it to end because I think Perry I think he could continue to grow for it. Whereas if they put him in some other program and it's a dud, it's going to really hurt him. So
I agree. Extend it out. He did work with Hook. Jungle Hook was a thing, so they have some chemistry together. I think it's come out in their previous match. I think it's going to come out in this match. Hook as champion is a little dull for me. He was a good, dominant, low card champion. Once you lose it, you need to move on. The way you move on is by losing to the current champion in a big program. And I think we're going to see that. I think Jack needs to carry the championship. I think he's going to give up on the retiring thing. I think the retiring was just to bait Hook, as it were. Ha ha. He baited the Hook. I know. But
so you're picking Hook for this one, or I'm sorry, you're picking
I'm flip-flopping.
Jack Perry. Okay, all right.
Just a minute ago, I chose Hook, but
right.
I've convinced myself that it's a smarter idea to keep it on Jack Perry because it is working, and because Hook needs to move on to better. But I think a short program with Jack Perry is a good idea. I just don't think he should win. He should just look really fucking good. And if he can't, then he needs to keep developing. I think this is a turning point for Hook. He's got to show how he can lose. Yep. Goldberg never did.
All right.
Neither did Jade. So fuck that.
Right.
No, he's got to show. He's got to show he can lose.
All right. So up next we have FTR versus the Young Bucks. Lots of years of build for this one. It's the rubber match. What do you think, Scott?
So, FTR are the champions, Young Bucks are the challengers. This is the third match. This is for all the marbles. Whoever wins gets to call themselves the greatest of all time. All the marbles at the biggest show, on the biggest stage, with the two best tag teams ever. Debatable ever. They're fantastic tag teams. FTR has shown time and time again they will put on classic tag matches every time you need them to. Collision, great. 5-star match. At a show like this, if we can ignore the personal issues, the personal problems that Cash has brought along with him, we can ignore that. Focus on a good tag match. There's nobody better than these two teams to put on a phenomenal match. They don't need any of the gimmicks. They don't need any of the spiked shoes or exploding shoes or any of that sort of stuff. If Matt's healthy and Nick is healthy, we know Nick's healthy, but if Matt is healthy and FTR is healthy, this is going to be a fucking banger of a match. This could easily blow the roof off. I think the Young Bucks win it because of the backstage issues with Cash. I don't think it's the right choice, but as a manager, as an owner, I can't let my guy flashing a gun go unanswered. Regardless of the circumstances, flashing a gun is not the right choice. And he's got...
Yeah, so if you don't know, Cash from FTR was arrested. He had to turn himself in for flashing a gun, and he was charged with aggravated assault.
Well, it was a road rage incident. Admit that. It was a road rage.
Yeah, I was going to mention that.
Okay, fine.
So it was it was a road rage incident. So it could be this guy was pissed off and filed the false report, and Cash did nothing. So I don't know what's going to come of this, if anything. It could just end up being dropped if there was no other witnesses, and it's just one person's word against the other. That could just be the end of it. So this could turn out to be nothing. So, or it could get charged, and I don't know what the penalties are for something like that, but I can't imagine he'd get in too much trouble for what he did. And just again, I just don't see this leading to too much trouble for Cash, but. Just
aggravated assault with a weapon is not a light charge. Now, I know it seems like, oh, well, it's just road rage. There's some serious laws that when you get up into the felony, they don't fuck around. There are some people currently that are finding out that the laws in America do actually apply up and down the board. Sometimes takes a lot longer, but I can't say there was nothing because he was arrested for a reason. Now,
yeah, he was arrested based on a report, a phone call that someone made to the police.
Right, and I've had people. By the way, I will tell you, I have had people call the police to my door because of how I was driving. It's happened. Now, what didn't happen was I was not arrested.
Because you probably didn't flash a gun at them.
Right.
Right.
So I have personal experience knowing if somebody calls the police on you, they take it very serious.
Mm-hmm.
And for good reason. 9 times out of 10, people don't call the cops just because they're a fucking Karen. Sometimes they do. And the cops have to deal with that. In my case, they had nothing. They went home. Or back on patrol or whatever the fuck they do. Went back to Dunkin' Donuts. Which was about a block and a half from my house. So that's why they showed up so quickly. The fact is, I was driving home from work. There were people who were very annoying, so I chose to be annoying back. They said I was swerving all over the road. What they failed to notice was every time they changed lanes, I changed lanes. So they didn't get that part. But the cops showed up. They asked me questions. I said, I have no idea what you're talking about. I don't know. And then they went away. Because nothing actually happened.
Right.
Cash got arrested. Cash got booked. That's not nothing. Presumed innocent until guilty. Sure. Totally understand. Go to court. But you don't get arrested for nothing. You don't get arrested because somebody just made up a report. Somebody corroborated. Somebody somewhere saw him driving like an asshole. And then somebody reported that he flashed a gun at him. And that was enough. So there's some serious shit to deal with eventually. But it's not going to happen. It's not going to affect this particular pay-per-view. But in the long run, it absolutely is. And I absolutely think that as an owner, Tony has to do something. Put him in anger management. Same thing he did with Sammy Guevara. Pull him off TV for a couple of weeks and have him lose the championship. There's just, you have to merit out the same sort of punishment you did for the trios match for the backstage assault. They can't win this match. They can't. No matter how much it makes sense, no matter how much they should, no matter how much as wrestlers they may deserve the accolade, I can't see them winning this match. I just can't. What's your opinion?
So the Bucks, I mean, All In is their show.
Yep.
They just signed a new
True.
deal. They just signed what people are suggesting could be a 4-year deal. So they just renewed their contract, and Matt has not had his arm.
Nope.
His arm braces on his where he had that detached bicep. So I think that's his way of saying, yeah, I'm good to go. I'm healthy. Let's do this. So I think the Bucks might get a push here. I mean, FTR can continue to do their thing on Collision with CM Punk or whatever. It'll be weird with them not having the titles over there if the Bucks do win. But yeah, I think it's time for the Young Bucks to win. You know, as I mentioned earlier, this is the rubber match between the two teams. This is their third meeting. You know, their previous matches have been excellent. I thought their first matchup when the Bucks won was incredible. It was one of the best tag team matches I've ever seen, and I expect this one to top that. So yeah. I think it's going to be outstanding. I'm looking forward to this match more than any other match on the show by far. It's not close. I think this could be a 6-star tag team match, one of the best tag team matches of all time.
Oh, yeah.
And yeah, I just hope everyone stays healthy and we get to see a classic. And my money's on the Bucks for this one.
You know, the fact is, if they're all mentally focused, this could be, as we said, one of the best tag team matches of all time. Honestly, they could put on a fucking masterpiece without any need of gimmicks or hardcore or weapons. They just need their ability to tell a story in the ring and the way they move in and out of the ring, because Nick Jackson is phenomenal at that. His moves in and out of the ring when he gets his hot tag system going is phenomenal. And FTR, they're classics. They're ground and pound, no flips, just kicks. or whatever it is. No flips, just punches, whatever their phrase is.
No flips, just fists.
That's it. There's something like that.
Yeah.
But they are a phenomenal team. They've put on some great matches. I think this is going to be fantastic. And the Young Bucks could easily have a great but short tag run. And maybe, there's another tag team out there that could be more deserving. Maybe they could build up a young team. I don't know anybody other than the Acclaimed, but they're in a different match. We'll talk about that.
Right. There'll be no shortage of opponents for the Bucks. So.
That's true. So,
all right.
How about,
so up next, we have the 4-way for the women's title: Shida, Toni Storm, Saraya, and Britt Baker.
So, a lot of people are predicting Saraya because it's the UK. That's a terrible, terrible reason to give her the belt. She has not impressed at all in any of her matches. She did not connect with the crowd. Yes, she has a group, but if they put the belt on Saraya, I will not understand it at all. Britt Baker has said she doesn't want the title. On camera she has, but she's also said backstage she doesn't care about the title. Whatever. I don't expect her to win. Toni Storm, legitimately, in my opinion, could win this. She lost it in a really weird, sudden fashion. Hikaru got her title run in front of people. She's going to get to come into a stadium with 80,000 people as the champion. I just don't expect her to leave as the champion. Toni Storm, by the way, her outfits these last couple weeks have been amazing. The stuff she has done with her hair, her character work with that alone, my God, this woman is brilliant. I think Toni Storm's going to pick up the win because please keep the belt off Saraya. Let Saraya continue to be a manager. Britt, her and Jamie Hayter should have headlined this. Jamie Hayter versus Britt Baker would have been fantastic if Mercedes was out. Mercedes versus Jamie Hayter would have been amazing. But Britt versus Hayter, they could have finally done that for the last several months. Had this amazing women's just division. I don't know what the Outcasts would do. Maybe they, go beat up new people. I don't know. But could have had this months-long, but Hayter got hurt. So we got this 4-way. I don't think Hikaru Shida wins. I think Toni Storm does. I think Saraya helps. It doesn't get mad. And Britt Baker just gets demolished. And that pisses off Adam Cole for later. What about you, Jay?
I think Saraya's going to win. I think she's going to come back with a heel champion. They need to do something to shake this division up. I think she's going to come back as a heel. I think she'll get a good pop being from the UK and winning the title. And she might even do something, I don't know, she might turn on Storm or something to get more heat. But again, is she going to be getting cheered at the show? I'm not sure who the fans are going to cheer for in this one. I'm not sure what the UK's attitude is towards Storm versus Saraya. But I mean, Shida, I just don't see Shida coming out of this. She's, like I mentioned last week, she's only been on Dynamite like 3 times in the last year. So like, why,
They gave her a run, and I'm happy for her, but they gave her a nothing run. Like all of the Joshi. She gets treated terribly.
So, Toni Storm was kind of her run was getting shit on by the fans and booked the women better. The signs were coming while Toni was champ. Toni wasn't elevating the title. I don't know how much that's her fault. Because Toni doesn't know how to book this division and won't let them do it. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going on with it, but I don't see Britt winning because I think her back is really impacting her performance. I don't know if is Britt's career in jeopardy because of this. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what's going to happen there. So yeah, my pick is Saraya coming out of this. I think she can bring some new heat around this title and help build up whoever's gonna defeat her. You know, if that's Jamie Hayter's return or if they'll try and build another star to topple Saraya. But I think it's time for her to have her chance.
Well,
and I know you disagree, and that's, I understand.
Lord help the division if she's the champion. She hasn't had great promos. She hasn't gotten a ton of heat. Her matches have been poor. Man, I really hope Tony does not do that. Or if they do that, they need something new more than just Saraya. They have to add somebody else into the mix, into the Outcasts. Like Tony Storm and Saraya together aren't enough. They need help. And, of course, they would normally get their other Outcast partner, but Ruby's got something else. Couldn't get into town. I don't know. But somebody new joins would be the only thing that makes sense for me for any sort of excitement and shakeup.
All right. Up next, we have Darby and Sting against Swerve and Christian. I wish that Brian Cage and Nick Wayne were included in this match. Having this as a trios match would not have hurt it at all. What are your thoughts here? Is Sting going to take his first loss?
So there was just some real some real contrivance. They really forced this with the AR Fox turn, and then Christian Cage just came out because he could and said, "Hey, I want to be in the match." Because he has a history with Darby, I guess, because Darby's going to go for the TNT title at All Out the next week. So, okay, good enough reason. They could have done AR Fox so much better. Maybe he got injured. Maybe he got put out. Maybe they just booked the entire match different. And AR Fox got beaten down by the good guys pre-match. I don't know, do something, anything, and give me a fucking reason, but this was a dreadful choice. Now, Nick Wayne isn't even in this match. Why not? I don't know. I do know Sting will not lose. There is zero chance at all that the King of Lost Swerve Strickland and the non-TNT champion Christian Cage, they're totally getting pinned. Totally getting pinned. This is building Darby, and this is continuing Sting's legacy. No. Unless Nick swerves Darby and joins with Swerve.
It could happen.
It could. But I doubt it.
So yeah, it just takes back to Dynamite. Christian Cage came out because he's got a Luchasaurus is fighting Darby at All Out and a week after All In, so that this kind of helps build that match. Darby's going to get his shot at the title a week after this one. So when Christian came out, Christian's making fun of everyone's fathers who've passed away. So Nick Wayne, of course, was an easy target. So he did go on, and I had complained last week about I didn't like the shots at Nick Wayne's father passing away. I don't think they need to make an angle out of it, but it did kind of feed into the Christian thing here. I did kind of think it was funny at the same time while I was face palming. I'm just like, are we really going to do this? Do we really need to use Nick Wayne's father who passed away as an angle to make him more of a baby face? So it's like, on one hand, I didn't like it, but Christian doing it is kind of funny because it kind of continues the trend.
So that reminds me, we all know Edge, Adam Copeland, has decided that he's going to leave the WWE. His contract is up in September 1st. He's got a contract renewal sitting in his inbox. He thinks he may be going to AEW. WWE certainly thinks he's going to AEW. He's never met his dad or even seen a picture of it. His best friend is Christian Cage.
Oh boy.
He's going to go for the dad joke throats. He's gonna go for that. That's gonna happen. So prepare yourself, girdle your loins. It's gonna happen. Christian Cage will go for the dad jokes. There's no way Sting loses. What do you think?
Yeah, I agree. There's no way, unless we had, like you said, if there was a swerve with Nick Wayne, that might be a big enough deal to make Sting take his first L. Something could happen to make Sting want to have a retirement match. I don't know. Sting did say he was going to retire this year, but I don't know. I mean, he doesn't need to. He's super well protected and he's treated like a star. And as Tony Khan said in an interview last week, he's in the best run of his career. Never mind the fact when he was carrying NWA/WCW, and he had 1,500 matches over 6 years and won like 90% of them. And then Tony's going to compare his AEW run, which is like 8 matches with a total of 20 minutes of ring time, to carrying a promotion. It's like, come on, Tony, let's not disrespect what Sting has done in the past. But yeah, I expect Darby and Sting to win here, and then Darby to go on, and I think Darby might win the U.S. title at All Out. That would be fun. But we'll see how that card.
It would be really damned impressive if he won the U.S. title.
Yeah, I meant the
TNT.
TNT title. Yeah,
if he won the U.S. title, I'd be really fucking impressed. That would be. I mean, he'd be taking on Gunther in a whole different company on this paper. Wow, that'd be impressive. Who
even is the U.S. champion? I thought Gunther is.
He's the IC.
Yeah.
It was Austin Aries, but now it's not Austin Aries. What's his fuck name? I don't know. The chosen one from Vince that everybody hated, but he got beat.
Mysterio.
Mysterio won it
2 weeks ago.
That's right.
So yeah, Darby versus Rey Mysterio. No, that's a fucking match. I would
pay for that one.
Oh my God.
I would pay for that one.
That would be incredible. So
the two ultimate underdogs versus each other would be great.
That would be amazing. Let's get her done. Let's get it done, Ray.
There you go. Come on. Well, Ray was in the first All In.
He was.
And that's one of the reasons WWE brought him back.
And Ray's kid apparently doesn't need his help to get over as a heel anymore, since he's like the most hated guy in the history of wrestling or something, apparently.
Pretty close.
So yeah, come on back, Ray. Come on back to AEW.
I want to see Dom versus Don Callis.
Yeah.
Who gets the most heat?
Yeah, that would be fun.
But hey, what about the next match? I know this one is absolutely important to you. The Golden Elite, Ibushi, Omega, Page versus Takeshita, Juice Robinson, and Jay White. Bullet Club Gold and Takeshita versus the Golden Elite. What are you thinking is going to happen in that match?
Well, this is going to set up Kenny versus Takeshita at All In, or All Out, is what the plan seems to be. I am pretty pissed off about this match. I mean, on its own, it's like great to see the Golden Lovers teaming with Hangman to go against Bullet Club and Takeshita, but it's like the build for this has been god awful. Like Hangman, I don't think has been on TV for 3 weeks. Ibushi has never been on Dynamite, and it's just it's like the hardcore fans, we get it, and we get there doesn't need to be a build, but man, it's just the build to this has just been awful. And it's like I generally don't care, but I want other people to get on board and understand why the hardcore fans are into these guys. And it's just like Tony's not spending the time to do it. He's like, this match doesn't need any build, it doesn't need any help. It stands on its own. The stories are all the internet smarks that like this stuff already know everything that's going on with these guys. So I'll instead have fucking Ruby Soho versus Sky Blue for 10 minutes instead of flying Ibushi over a couple days early and setting up something cool. It's just really frustrating and annoying to me.
I hear you, because primarily you're a huge Omega fan, huge Ibushi fan. You've made your love of the Japanese history and Kenny Omega no secret. So of course you absolutely would want more from that. But there's something about protecting these guys. Now, they've already sold 80,000 plus tickets. They apparently have already had like 100,000 pre-order pay-per-views, with another who knows how many more expected in the last 24 hours before the pay-per-view, which means Collision is super important. There could be, who knows what's going to happen. It's already taped. But the fact of the matter is, he's already sold the shit out of the pay-per-view. He's already sold the shit out of the stadium. And they didn't really have a card. So he really didn't have to book it well. I mean, he didn't have to promote it well. He has to book it well, obviously. So I agree. The build, for those of us who watch weekly who really wanted to see more, absolutely, it could have been more. But realistically, he's already blowing all expectations out of the fucking water. How hard does this man need to work for you?
I mean, he's been working plenty hard on the MJF Cole thing. It's. I just feel like
it's mostly MJF.
Yeah, I just feel like there's lost opportunity here by at least giving Kenny and the Elite more time on TV. It's my gripe.
No, so. I hear you, and obviously we're just talking about it, but I wonder if maybe it's their choice not to take TV time away from the young up-and-comer MJF, trying to, make room at the top, because Kenny Omega doesn't need time to know he's fantastic. And MJF is selling the shit out of this pay-per-view. He did the hot ones with Adam Cole. That MTV, he did Truth or Dab, and they ate chicken wings and answered Truth or Dare questions. It was phenomenally funny. I'm already a fan of hot ones. The fact that those two were doing the round, selling the pay-per-view that way. It's a middle of the card match. It didn't need a ton of build. You see them as the stars, and rightfully so. They are stars. But there's a lot of stars going on this particular show, and maybe they just chose not to shine as brightly, which doesn't make sense in some ways. But MJF and Cole are carrying the fuck out of this show. Maybe that's it. I don't know. I do know it's going to be a great match. Jay White and Juice Robinson have shown that they are capable of connecting with the crowd. 80,000 people are going to respond to them. And I know Takeshita is beloved and behated. And, of course, the Golden Elite. Everybody loves those guys. So I think it's going to be a phenomenal match even with no build-up. And I expect the Elite to win.
Yeah, it'll be a hell of a match. We'll see how Ibushi looks after his less than stellar showing in the Blood and Guts match. I don't know where Hangman's been or why. So I just don't know what's going on there. But yeah, Juice Robinson is probably going to take the pin in this one, I would think. Although they've been protecting him. Like, I think Jay's taken a couple of the losses in their tag matches. So Jay's trying to help Juice get over. But yeah, it's going to be a great face-off between Kenny and Takeshita, which has been building for months.
Yeah,
mostly in the background, but it's been there. And then, of course, Jay White, Kenny Omega. We've been waiting for years for them to face off since their problems back in New Japan back in 2018. So yeah, there's a ton of history going into this match. I think it's probably my second most anticipated match on the card. It's going to be really good. And yeah, looking forward to this one for sure.
There's no question it's going to be a good match because of who's involved. That's the way I see it. Now, what about that Stadium Stampede match? This is going to be insane. What the fuck do you think they're going to do? It's Kingston, Orange Cassidy, best friends, against Penta, Cero Miedo, and I guess that's the end of their team now, against the Blackpool Combat Club, which of course is Moxley, Claudio, and Wheeler. And now they've added Proud and Powerful, Santana and Ortiz. They're back together? Maybe? Question mark?
Yeah, it's great to see Santana and Ortiz back. They didn't exactly acknowledge each other on the show. Apparently, Conan said on his podcast that Santana and Ortiz have buried the hatchet. For those of you who don't know, Santana and Ortiz were not getting along before Santana went out on his injury that kept him out for over a year. So it's I think it's great to see them back. I hope Tony uses them to. I mean, like, I would love to see them in a program with the Bucks for the title.
Yeah,
that would be so incredible, and it's something that we wanted to see years ago. Maybe it'll finally come to fruition. Yep.
Hell yeah! I'd love to see either one of those teams get a title match and a title run. I'd love to see either one of the Best Friends or Santana Ortiz get themselves a title run. They both fucking deserve it because they've worked hard and connected with the fans. They're great characters, and I'd love to see Santana Ortiz get some of that prop.
Yeah. The other thing here is I think it's going to be pretty similar to we've seen these matches many times now, similar type matches. So I think it's just going to be your typical brawl, of course, with some crazy spots and everything. It's going to be fun. It's going to be entertaining. There's going to be blood.
Moxley's in the match, right?
Yeah. Yep.
There's going to be, and it's a stadium stampede, which means weapons, right? Yeah, there's blood. Yep. There's going to be blood. Do you think there's going to be a tack board?
There might be. I don't know if there's any legal issues with that in the UK, though. I don't know if they have any special rules around that. So I don't know if anyone's going to be lit on fire or right. Whatnot. But my question to you is Eddie Kingston going to come out with a kitten for this match?
You know, unfortunately, what I've heard is that his kitten wasn't able to travel to the UK. And so he has to leave him at home.
Damn it.
Yeah, his travel issues. It's the visas. I told you there was more than one wrestler that was affected. Eddie Kingston's kitten. Eddie Kittenston, his kitten, was affected. Now, he's definitely going to come out with the tiger ears and the tail out of the back of his pants. That's going to happen, finally. And they're going to start calling him Eddie Kittenston. So
there you go.
I'm crossing my fingers. It's going to happen.
My brother will be happy to hear that. You know, he was always a fan of your Eddie Kingston booking ideas, and he's actually my brother's driving in from Philadelphia tomorrow to so he can watch the pay-per-view with me and a couple friends on Sunday. So it should be fun. Fantastic. I'm glad I'll be here.
Well, have a drink on me, or put it in your mouth, not on your head.
I'm sure there'll be plenty of that happening.
That's what I'm assuming. But let's
before we move on,
I was going to say, who do you think is going to win?
I don't know. I don't even think it matters.
It really nobody doesn't. Wins.
There's no stakes. There's no stakes here. It's like, who do they want coming out of this? Looking the strongest is like, who's going to get the win? I don't know who that is right now. It's like Orange and Mox. I think we might end up having them face off it all out for the title. That would be awesome.
Yeah, they've been teasing that matchup, and if that's true, there's no way Moxley would lose that match.
Yeah, so I'm thinking maybe Mox wins here to set up the match, and Orange beats him in Chicago, which I don't know.
Wow, that would be fucking huge.
Because Mox doesn't lose, so I don't know.
I mean, he does, and he's. If they put the beat down on him this week and he goes in injured, they could as injured as OC, I guess, they could legitimately put him out for a couple of weeks, maybe give him a break, time off. Can't do that since Renee works there now. She's never going to get a week off. So yeah, I don't think the Blackpool Combat Club can lose this match because they've lost the last big brawl they were in, Blood and Guts.
Yeah, they did lose Blood and Guts match, yeah.
So Santana Orange and Ortiz just came back. And you're going to give them a loss? That would suck.
It depends how much Tony wants to use them. If he's not interested in using them, then,
So I'm going to say that Penta gets pinned.
Okay.
Because his brother caused all the problems. So he gets, curtain called. I don't know, just because Penta's able to take a loss and it won't hurt him any. He's so popular.
Right.
I think if we're going to build up the best friends in Santana and Ortiz, they can't take pins. OC versus John Moxley, we've discussed. I don't see OC taking a pin. Possibly Moxley, but I doubt it. Kingston could get pinned, and Wheeler Yuta absolutely could get pinned. Right. So I think it would be difficult to see Yuta and the BCC take another loss after their big loss last time. So they've got to win. Santana or Ortiz have to win. They have their big return. Best friends are being built up. OC's a fucking champion. Champions don't get pinned. Between Eddie and Penta, I say it's got to be Penta.
Yeah, I mean, there's a bunch of matches that could come out of this. Mox versus Orange, Eddie Kingston versus Claudio,
of course.
Santana and Ortiz versus the Best Friends, like for a number one contender match. There's a lot they could do here.
I hope so.
I
really hope so.
The one thing I want to say about this match is, I think you convinced me that BCC is going to win, so I might change my vote on Foreteller. So the one other thing I want to say here is I think Zack Sabre Jr. was supposed to be booked in this match. He was the sixth man.
You think?
I do think that was supposed to be Zack Sabre Jr. And he is not listed on this show at all, which is unfortunate because he's next to Ospreay. He's probably the second biggest star in the UK due to his success. Well, non-WWE star, I should say. Because I'm sure there's probably some other people. There's probably some wrestlers there from the UK that are bigger, but I'm not sure who they are right now. So yeah, it's just unfortunate that Zack Sabre Jr. He was the big dream match that everyone wanted to see fight Danielson, and that's why I didn't think Danielson Kenny would be booked on this show because I thought for sure it was going to be Danielson versus Zack Sabre. So. Yeah, it's just unfortunate that Zach is not on the show yet. I think something still could happen where he might be, but I mean I haven't heard that, and it's just really upsetting that he's not on the show. So,
I mean, it is. Zack Sabre has been working with them. Is it a New Japan issue? Did they say no? We're not going to let you have him for this show. Is it because Danielson wasn't available that they're like, yeah, nobody else is really worth it for us to let you have him? I guess. I don't know. Very odd choice to say the least.
Yeah.
But it is what it is, and it's got to be breaking Zach's heart not to be able to do that. But at least you're going to have somebody who is, and that's Will Ospreay. And he's going to be having a great time in front of his home crowd.
Yeah, speaking of Will Ospreay, that match is next on the list. So
it
Ospreay
is
versus Jericho. Yeah, look at that transition.
Amazing. So Jericho loses, right?
Yeah, he's lost like 90% of his matches.
He's getting to play his band in front of 80,000 people. This is the only time it's ever going to happen. There's no chance in hell his band would ever play a venue this big. And he gets to sing with them. The audience gets to sing along with him. And then he gets to lay down for one of the best in England. One of the best from England. I just don't see any other choice than Jericho losing. Ospreay's got Callus. Yeah. It's going to be a great match because Will Ospreay is great. Jericho has been great and could be great. I think it'll be a fantastic match regardless.
Yeah, I think Ospreay's going to get a hell of a match out of Jericho. I'm surprised it's not a gimmick match. I thought it would be a hardcore match or something, but apparently Ospreay's confident enough that he can work with Jericho and have a great match without that. So good for him. We'll see what he can do. It's going to be excellent. I hope it doesn't turn into Jericho has Ospreay in a fucking shitty looking Boston Crab for like 8 minutes or some nonsense. I hope that we get a better match than that out of him.
Yeah.
And yeah, I mean, obviously, Osprey's the winner here. I'm not sure. Osprey's contract's coming up in 4 months.
He brought it up.
So yeah,
He wants to work
he
here.
wants to work in AEW. I would imagine. I'm not 100% on that because he said, he might not want to live in the U.S., which is fair. Some people just aren't interested in doing that.
I don't blame him.
Right. So yeah, we'll see. We'll see what he does. But I think he's going to end up signing with AEW, and he should have a lot of great matches for the company in the future. So
yeah, I think Osprey understands that as big as New Japan is, if he wants to be a worldwide name, AEW is his next step.
Yeah,
and good luck.
Where do you think Osprey is in terms of? I mean, obviously, all the smarks who watch Japanese wrestling and pay attention to Meltzer's star ratings all know who he is because he has more 5-star matches than anyone in the history of wrestling, and he just keeps racking them up. How do you think the a more casual fan who doesn't follow New Japan and won't go out of their way to watch a New Japan or
so you mean me?
Rev Pro? Well,
so you mean me?
Well, probably less than you. Like you pay a lot of attention to wrestling. You don't necessarily go out of your way to watch this stuff, but you are very familiar at this point. How do you think Osprey's been built up to the casual AEW fan who doesn't watch New Japan?
So I think the promo segment on Dynamite between him and Jericho sold the fuck out of their match. I think Osprey, his particular style, and I'm absolutely cribbing this from Wrestle Talk, is very reminiscent of Eddie Kingston and Jon Moxley in that they don't know it's not real. Like, they sell their character so hard in the legitimate way you're supposed to as a wrestler that they blur the lines that you're not sure if they believe it or not. Eddie Kingston seems like he's 100% going to murder Claudio. He's a wrestler. He's not going to, but he goddamn sure sounds like it. Jon Moxley comes across as real as possible. And I think Will Ospreay has that same talent. I loved their promo segment on Dynamite. I was like, yeah, bruv. Bring it, bruv. I want to, I was ready for it, bruv. I've got some British friends. I thought that he brought the Chav character out perfectly. He showed why he needs to win. And he's got the stepson, he's got the wife, he's got the family. He's in his hometown in front of everybody. He sold it. I love this coming up. You didn't need more than a week to sell this match. You really didn't. I think that the interactions with Jericho and Callis up to now have done fine. Will Ospreay got Callis's assistance at the previous pay-per-view that started this entire storyline. I think it's paid off perfectly. I think it's going to be a great match. And I think that Will Ospreay did introduce himself very well in that last promo against Jericho. I thought for a minute he was coming out against Kenny, but then suddenly switched over to Jericho. And it worked. I think he's definitely shown he's at least on the level of Jericho. And Jericho's one of the greatest.
Yep.
Ospreay takes this by far. That place is going to explode when Ospreay gets the win.
So do you know who? So Ospreay's girlfriend was not his wife. I don't think his wife was mentioned, but his girlfriend was mentioned a couple times. Is he still with Bea Priestley? Because she had a cup of coffee in AEW. She was she had a run for a while before she went to Japan to join Will in New Japan.
I remember seeing her. I didn't know that they were dating. Interesting.
Yep, they
Good
were
on
in
him.
angles together and such in New Japan.
Okay.
Will
Cool.
actually attacked her after he said he wanted the title so bad he was going to beat up his girlfriend. Which
That's funny, actually. As a heel, that's
well,
despicable.
that's an angle you'll never see in the U.S. But
Yeah, no. You're no.
so, but anyhow, so she's been referenced. I think the last few times he's been on, but they didn't call her B. So I don't know if he's with someone else or if he's still with her. But if she's in the front row, we'll see on Sunday.
Probably. I mean, you know what? If she's good enough, bring her back. Have her, Will and Adam versus or Will and B versus Adam and Britt. We'll just do mixed tag matches with them for a month and a half.
There you go.
All right. I'm not sure how I feel about the next match. CM Punk as the real world champion versus Samoa Joe. Samoa Joe's title isn't on the line. So that means it's only Punk's title. Okay. I'm not sure that Samoa Joe is winning this.
No, he's definitely not winning it.
Okay, that's about right. I think it'll be a good match. Punk did his Golden Vampire. Ooh, I get to whatever. It's they've had a history. Everybody who knows who CM Punk is, Samoa Joe's not exactly unknown. I think this will be a good match, but Punk goes over. There's not really a whole lot to anticipate other than seeing good wrestling. But two legendary foes. That's about the best I can say.
Yeah. I'm not interested in this match at all. I think it's going to be I'm not a fan of Joe or Punk. I think it will be I think it'll be a good match though. I think like the last 5 minutes of this match are going to be excellent because both these guys know how to work the crowd. They're both geniuses in the ring. So I do think the last 5 minutes or so is going to be excellent, but I think it's going to be a lot of standing around and stuff, antics that I'm less interested in seeing. But overall, it'll be a good match. I see Punk winning. I just would be shocked if he laid down to Samoa Joe here. I guess it would set up something in the future. Like Punk's title is on the line, though, isn't it?
Yep.
Punk's title is on the line. Joe's is not, right? So, So Punk's. There's no way they're going to give this title to Joe. Because Punk needs the title on his Collision show. So, So there's absolutely no.
Drama.
It's just an uninteresting match to me. And of course, Punk had to win their previous matchup, so he's going to go over Joe twice here. It just seems like Hogan booking at this point. Like, it would have made sense for Joe to get the win over Punk. Then this match would have had a little more meaning. But it's like, oh, wow, so Punk's going to beat Joe twice. Oh, that's cool. So
the last big thing Joe did was hurt Roderick Strong.
Yeah, the Emerald Frozen on the chair, which was badass.
And Roderick's still wearing the neck brace.
Yeah. Yep.
How long has that been? 2 months?
It's been a while.
That's still funny. So Punk wins. It should be fun, but it's a nothing match. There's no stakes. This is Samoa Joe and CM Punk in front of 80,000 Brits because they can.
No. Who else is he going to fight?
Well, I mean, the Brits deserve a classic, great match between these two competitors. I think it's going to be phenomenal for the live crowd. I think it'll be fun on the actual pay-per-view itself. I think this is a great match. High mid-card. Maybe even low top of the card, which is where it has placed here on Wikipedia. Okay. There's no stakes, but it'll be fun.
Yeah, it'll be fun. It'll be, like I said, I think the finish of the match should be pretty entertaining.
I'm interested to see how the crowd responds to Punk.
Yeah, I don't know.
Are they going to try to make him a face?
I'm not sure how the UK crowd is going to respond to either of these guys. I don't know who they're going to cheer. I think it'll probably be split.
Probably, but CM Punk is CM Punk. He will get a response. He will get a reaction.
He definitely will.
All right, we're almost through this.
House of Black
yeah.
versus Daddy Ass and The Acclaimed.
Now, again, I'm stealing this from Wrestle Talk, but they absolutely have to go on late. The House of Black cannot show up while there's still daylight. They can't show up and do their spooky entrance. There's still daylight, right? It has to be late in the card.
Right.
So I really, really hope that I don't want House of Black to lose. I said this before when they fought last time. I don't want House of Black to lose. However, I know they want to give Billy Gunn a title shot, a title run before he retires. They've talked about it. I thought they were going to do it before, and that they were going to go into this as champions, and maybe House of Black was going to take it back. But House of Black retained. Last week on Collision, there was absolutely no House of Black rules. It was a trios match. There was no 20-second count out. There was no additional rule just not a House of Black match. So I'm hoping that this is a House of Black rules match. That would indicate they're going to win. But I don't anticipate it. Billy Gunn and the Acclaimed have to win. They're going to get a title run. It's going to be a trios run because Billy Gunn is going to get his just desserts in AEW as a champion before he officially stops his in-ring. I just don't see it going any other way.
I think there's no question the Acclaimed and Billy Gunn wins. I mean, having him lose 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
I mean, I guess that would be a way for Billy to go out.
They milked this angle, man. They already did the retirement.
Yeah, given the nod to House of Black for a 3rd time would be quite the compliment. You know, helping establish them as a team. But I just don't see it. I mean, you could just picture the ovation when those guys come out with the trios title. It's going to be fun.
House of Black needs to move on to something else. They're dominant. They've got the response. They've got the connection. Have them move on. Maybe have Buddy win a title. Have Brody go after a title. Malachi just be the mastermind behind it all, and have him go after the world title in a year or two. But they elevated the trios. They proved they're bigger and better than just the trios division. Let's see where else they can go. I really don't want them to lose. I'd love to see them do more. But there's no way they win against Billy Gunn at this point.
Right.
The story does not lead me to believe that the Acclaim are going to lose. So, congratulations to the Acclaim. They get to be a trios champ with Billy Gunn. And deservedly so. They are so fucking over when they get the chance to do their rap, when they get the chance to do their scissor. They are fucking over. When they win, 80,000 plus people, by the way, they're going to do it during the match. They're going to chant, "Scissor me daddy," and it's going to fucking shake the foundation of the stadium. And deservedly so that they're going to go over and win. But goddamn, over the House of Black.
It's a bit scary to see House of Black losing just because of how Tony Khan has used them in the past. What are they going to be doing on Collision? They could split the group up and they could challenge in singles matches.
LFI.
You could have them going after Punk. If Punk is interested in doing a program with them, that would be great.
LFI and Roosh, they started their I don't know what they're doing with Boar Preston. They kidnapped that boy in Mexico. But okay. Roosh and LFI are reforming, so maybe they can go up against House of Black. And maybe then after that, after they do their thing, one or more of them can go after the titles. So maybe they'll have a good trios division for a bit.
There you go.
Anyways, who do you think wins?
I'm picking the Acclaimed. I just don't see a 3rd time.
Yeah,
just doesn't. There's just no need to bury Billy Gunn like that on the way out. So
yeah. And then the main event, MJF versus Cole. I personally think going into this, MJF is going to be the wounded champion the wounded babyface having to fight from underneath against the now heel Cole. I've said before, I want Cole to win. I don't think it's the smart booking decision. MJF is going to win, continue his legendary run, now being a babyface. That's just the way I see it. It's going to be fun. Can they double clothesline themselves?
I don't know. They might.
Where do you think this is going?
Yeah, like as we talked about in the opening, it comes full circle from the opening match in the show, which we're assuming will be Aussie Open versus MJF and Cole. Perry and Hook will follow. So yeah, full circle. We're back to where we were, which is crazy. It's just such a cool way to put even more hype around the main event. Is have the guys in the main event challenging for the tag titles previously in the show. I don't think that's ever been done before. It's like, could you imagine Hulk Hogan and Randy Savage before WrestleMania 5 fighting the British Bulldogs for the tag belts or something crazy like that?
Well, no, they were already so angry at each other by that point. They couldn't.
Right.
The mega powers had already exploded.
They did explode.
This is the bromance of the summer.
Yep.
Going into the biggest show of the summer, and they're still friends. This is so phenomenal. They won't be friends by the end of this. There's no way that they can continue it. And there's no way that they win the ROH titles, of course. But the stories that could come out of this, the potentials, the directions that it could go, obviously they're going to have a phenomenal match.
MJF could win the ROH titles. I wouldn't be too surprised if they did.
I mean, I'm voting for it, but I don't expect it.
Yeah, I'd love to see it. It would give me a reason to watch ROH if they had to team up on ROH.
See, I don't see them defending it on ROH.
That's the thing, yep.
And they would elevate the belts as a result. And I think it's not necessarily a bad thing for them to have it. And between the two of them, one of them will be champion and a double champion. Maybe they do it as faces. Maybe they swerve everybody. And they go in, they win the tag titles, they come into the championship, and they're both baby faces, and they finish the match, and they're still friends, and Max is double champion with Adam Cole by his side. And the Kingdom attack afterwards, and they start a feud with the Kingdom versus the ROH tag champs. Elevate that a little bit.
There you go.
And that's the pay-per-view, gentlemen. That's it.
That's everything.
We've made it through the entire card. And in only an hour and a half.
Could have been longer.
It easily could have been longer.
We should go for another half hour for our dedicated fans.
Right. Because they're still definitely listening.
That's right.
All right. Well, if you haven't already, click like, click subscribe, comment on your thoughts on this prediction, and go over to EliteMarkOrder.com. Click on Join the Discord. We'd love to have you there. We'd love to see you there. We'd love to love you. JJ for life.